Frank Lloyd Wright, of course, has a reputation for having his roofs leak. He often, when people would ask him about that, he always said that you really couldn't trust an architect whose roofs didn't leak because it meant that they weren't being very creative.
There was heavy snow and heavy ice on them, and the wood construction that they used was not capable of carrying the excessive loads.
Much as we have a series of cantilevered roofs that have very substantial deflections up to 5 and 6 inches out of level. So that is going to be a major aspect to restore.
The fact that this roof was a big shell is what actually held it together for as long as it did. The roof skin, the boards nailed to the roof, actually acted like a big skin. We really aren't destroying that skin. We're tin off, building a skeleton underneath the skin. We've changed the loading pattern. Now the loads are no longer coming down only on the outside walls, but they're coming down different places. So we've replaced it with steel columns. These columns then carry beams, and the beams actually then resist the cantilever load, that overhanging load, and they have a long backspan going back here to a truss, a large truss back here. We're putting it together with the best technology that we have today, and then we're putting that skin back on it again. So we're not changing the appearance. This will not look one iota different from an external appearance standpoint that it did before. None of the steel will show. The only thing different is that the overhangs that sagged badly before are not going to sag anymore.
The first of 19 tons of structural steel are put in the roof during the summer months. In the fall, the weather becomes a factor.
Well, right about at this point, we are about a month behind schedule because it has been raining constantly for the last, or off and on for the last month and a half. For 24 days straight, it's been raining right now. So the problem is that we're at a very critical stage in finishing the roof and finishing the masonry before winter comes so that we can enclose the building. And you can't do roof work and you can't do masonry in the rain. So that's really what has slowed us down the most, I think. We had to get samples of the mortar to match, the new mortar to match the old mortar. And we didn't have enough dry weather for the mortar to dry so that we could look at the different samples, the color samples, and see if they would work. One of Wright's techniques for emphasizing the horizontality of a building was in changing the color of the mortar. The vertical mortar joint was colored the same color as the brick, which emphasized this horizontal, continuous horizontal line. The horizontal joint was then deeply raked out shadow and was of a lighter mortar color. This creates quite a problem or a challenge for a mason who has to work with two different colors of mortar all the time. One of the toughest things that we're facing right now is getting the new to look like old, but yet not to have it look too new. Even when we replace, we rebuild reusing the old brick that was on the site, and we're reusing it just in a different place. It even takes some care in trying to get it to match the brick that's right next to it.
As the masonry and structural roof work neared completion, it was time to cover the roof. For many years, ordinary asphalt shingles had been in place. Research showed that red clay tile had been the original specification. Only a small number of the original tiles were found. Fortunately, the original manufacturer is still in business and even has paperwork on the original 1909 order. Another 19,000 red clay tiles are made special run. The tiles are installed on the roof, one by one, cutting and piecing, and occasionally shattering the brittle ceramic.
Good, the final tile.
Don't break it.
Don't break it, yeah. All right.
All right. Good going, Jim.
Now, with steel where Frank Lloyd Wright could use only wood, stands strong and true. With the roof complete, work on the interior begins. An early photograph shows a mural wrapping all the way around a central pylon.
I think in Wright houses, one can expect to see a mural because he did include them in a number of the houses. We really weren't sure that the mural was still assumed that they would have just painted over, and there seemed to be about 5 layers of paint on top of the mural. We still don't really know what condition the mural is in. We assume that it's pretty much there intact and can be restored. Then it was a rather remarkable discovery in a gallery in New York to come across a watercolor by George Niedecken of a mural of hollyhocks, but unidentified in terms of the house. But clear that this was very closely related to the photograph of the mural.
The 5 layers of paint on the pylon are carefully removed, and the mural beneath is exposed. Its original subtle colors are carefully reconstituted. The found watercolor as reference. The good fortune was to continue.
Yes, yes. Oh, fantastic. How about the desk and the landing and stuff? How did we do on that?
After
Oh, that
months
was
of
nice.
digging,
We
investigation,
finalized the
and
purchase.
following leads, another major discovery is made. A large number of pieces of the original furniture for the Meyer house are still in use, and still in Grand Rapids. This collection, although indecent for its age, nevertheless is far from the way Frank Lloyd Wright had seen it back in 1909. Some pieces had been painted. On others, the veneers had darkened and split.
The back of this chair is an example. The movement of the wood beneath the veneer has created this severe buckling and distortion. There is some of that. There's also some losses of pieces of veneer that have come through wear and use. But it's significantly pieces of furniture have survived and can be returned to that home in a museum concept.
Each piece of original furniture is caringly restored. The darkened finish is lightened to match the original oak of the floors and woodwork in the house. Missing veneer is carefully replaced. Joints are strengthened. Are corrected.
The objective will be to recreate as much as possible a similar finish appearance to that which the furniture would have had when it was made and first placed in the Meyer home.
Small samples of the original fabric used on furniture throughout the house are found underneath other layers of upholstery on the dining room chairs.
Very difficult to find a color that was popular in the early part of today's market. And it was so
A
important.
search through countless modern samples shows nothing that matches both the weave and color of the wool fabric that Wright specified